Welcome everyone, this is Pineleaf Needles, and you are listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Terry Adwin,
Hi, hi.
Erithert,
Arithert.
Was he
I
really?
was muted. What's up, everybody?
Now that we got that out of the way.
Yep. Moving on.
and Carvette.
At your service and your families.
And this week we will be having our review for Update 16, but we will begin with some game news. And our first bit of news is that there is apparently some testing going over in Bulwer that's not open to the general public. And Anding, what's this all about?
Yes, well, it seems, based on some posts in the forums, somebody posted the Bulwer chat into the forums saying that there's going to be testing in the Ettenmoors and then later testing in where they need to meet in Osgiliath. And they later say that this is PvP testing. So it's presumed that by Osgiliath they mean the new PvP version of Osgiliath. That's obviously conjecture, but Frelorn did say that there is going to be testing open to members of the Players' Council and the Palantir test group for this weekend. So that is something that's going on. So that's kind of exciting. It seems that the PvP map is already getting tested on Palantir server. So
I suppose that would be logical, seeing that that's supposed to be what Update 17 is supposed to be all about.
exactly. So that's really good news that they seem to actually have a map that they're testing. So that's good news.
All right, anybody else have anything to add on this?
I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that the map is not the same as the Osgiliath map for PvE because that's insanely complicated and gonna be a little bit odd for
I'm
Does that
sure
mean
PvP.
they're
you got
gonna.
lost in there as many times as I did?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna change it at the very least
Like
to put capture points and different
yeah,
things like
so
that for sure.
I'm excited to see how they change it up to make it good for PvP.
Yeah.
And I hope it's got better stuff with lag and they fix some stuff that's been broken for a while, like the attack duration on creep side, things like that. Um, just general bug stuff. I'm excited that they're paying attention to the PvP. Looking forward to it.
And I do want to mention, because it's in the forum thread, even though you're not part of the Players' Council or the Palantir groups, you can patch. So if you patch early and they make changes later, there's less patching to do further down the road. The more often you patch, or
Patch early, patch often.
But the more
patch.
often you patch, you do risk sometimes there's client issues that could cause your whole file to be corrupted. That's happened to me and a few other people I know. So that is a risk, but it's unlikely. So.
What I said about patching early and patching often, don't do that.
I actually haven't had an issue since, especially now that my actual client is through Steam, so it's saved in nowhere near the Bulwer client.
Yeah, that does help.
All right,
Awesome.
let's head into our store sales. And what's on sale this week?
This week we have on sale the free sample of the week is a skill and Slayer Deed boost ×1. Use coupon code NHQW9 one time per account. Always good to see those boosts. We also have 20% off shared storage, vault upgrades, inventory slots, and currency cap. All good stuff to get if you don't have, well, the only one you get free is the currency cap VIP, so everything else is yay. 75% also on some LOTRO content on Steam. I'm not 100% sure what exactly is on sale.
Every single thing that's LOTRO related on Steam is on sale for 75% off right now.
Yes, like all the expansions.
So there's the expansion
like
Quad Pack, which includes
the Quad
Moria,
Pack and
Mirkwood,
Helm's Deep.
Isengard, Rohan. There's the Helm's Deep expansion, and there's the Steely Dawn Starter Pack. All 75% off.
I think
Yes,
they got
this is part of the Steam summer sale.
Mm-hmm.
They also have the Steam starter pack, which is different than the Steely Dawn one. That's another good one they
Yes.
have. It comes with like Evandim or something.
Yeah, Steely Dawn starter pack comes with Evan Deem, and the like a nice armor set.
Yeah, and I think the Steam starter pack comes with turbine points, a cool steed,
Yeah, the
and a
Steam
couple
Star
other
Pack they
things.
removed a long time ago, actually. It's no longer available for
Aw.
purchase.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Ah, then I have an exclusive mount. Woohoo!
yep, I do as well.
Exclusive to that
But
pack anyway.
but yeah.
I get asked about that horse all the time. I'm like, it's Steam. It's awesome. Thank you.
So I guess the only things that aren't on sale were the Samwise Gamgee starter pack and Riders of Rohan. But everything else is on sale. And you can get Riders of Rohan in the quad pack, so I don't know why that's not on sale. But anyway, that's what's going on.
It was good.
Very well, then. Let's then head on to our site news. And we will begin with our poll is, what is your favorite instrument in LOTRO?
I know what a dwarf's favorite instrument is. An axe.
Okay, that that could have gone a little better.
Well, back in the day, people used to say, I'm going to grab my axe, referring to their guitar. So, but
That's true.
So Carve might not be returning next week, but but yes, there was a poll that's what's your favorite instrument in Lotro, in case you forgot after whatever the heck that was. And so the top answer is the harp with 21% of the vote, followed by the lute with 19%, bagpipes with 14%. Really? Bagpipes are third? That's surprising.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, bagpipes are epic.
Flute is at 9%, more cowbells at 8%. I expected that to be top answer. Theobro, 7%, pigborns, 5%, drum, 5%, clarinet, 4%, horn, 3%, other 3%, and way down at the bottom is cowbell with 2%, which makes sense since more
Don't
cowbell is also an
understand why
option.
horn is not higher. Horn is so, it's so saxy. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too. Yeah,
Like,
I'm surprised that bagpipes is ahead of most of this list. And yeah, there were 183 total votes in this poll,
And
but
with the
wow.
harp and lute, seeing that there are two versions of each of those.
Yeah, that's probably what the other is.
Yeah, I have to remember to get myself a new lute, so it sounds like the old lute.
Get a new lute, so it
I'll
sounds
just
like
settle with any loot, even if I have to roll for it.
But
I know, it's like corny joke night. I should probably stop while I'm not ahead. If I get too deep into the hole.
so Carve really might not be returning next week.
Let's then go on to some poetry, Poems of the Pine, which is the start of a new installment where I will be going through the epic storyline in poetry.
Yeah, Pineleaf, this article is one of our most popular articles we've had in a really long time. People seem to really like at least the title, Poems of Pine, if not the actual content. So, great job on
Yeah,
this, Pine.
we'll see how
Awesome.
many will actually read it next week's episode. They'll tell
Yeah.
us.
But yeah, people seem to really, really like this, and I understand because it's Pineleaf doing poetry. What could be more awesome than that? So I'm a big fan.
Right then. Then let's head into our Lotro video highlights. Under the Mountain, Dark and Tall.
That's right, Pineleaf. This is basically a poem from The Hobbit brought to life by the Lonely Mountain Band and BBB
Not
and
by
other
Peter
awesome people.
Jackson.
Huh? Not by Peter Jackson.
Not by... Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. Check it out. They
We'll
have
wheel away
actuals.
air.
It's actually being sung, which is awesome. So it's not just text. So they actually did go and sing the whole thing with actual lyrics, and it's not just like music. It's really cool.
Well, it's not like all that difficult to find the lyrics, considering
No,
it's in The
but
Hobbit.
most of these kind of music videos in Lotro don't have somebody actually singing. They just have like instrument music in Lotro. So that was a really nice touch, I thought.
That is rather unusual.
And as usual, we have an installment of The Family Line, part 48, and that means we are getting closer and closer to part 50 of this series and getting close to their 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, this has been going on way longer than I thought it would. Just amazing, absolutely amazing, and it's still fantastic. Every single episode of this series has been amazing. It's it's amazing. It's an internet, a very cool
Well,
internet
let's be
phenomenon.
honest. Do we really want it to come to an end?
I don't think I ever said I want it to come to an end. I just said I'm surprised
I'm
it
just
hasn't
saying,
yet.
because that was kind of implied.
Being surprised that it hasn't and wanting are two totally different things, Terry.
I'm kind of bummed out because I've been out sick the past couple of weeks and I'm just behind on it. And I'm like, oh no.
So you had all that time of like resting, laying down, and doing
I
things like
was
that that you didn't
I was
reading.
sleeping most of the time.
It's true, he was.
I had pneumonia. I was asleep. I wasn't even in game.
Yeah, it's amazing that you're still with us.
Yeah, I'm still alive. Thanks for your sympathy.
No, that's awesome that you're better, Arthur. That's
But
really
I'm
cool.
very much looking forward to catching up on the series.
Good. I like it.
Yeah.
Then let's head into the news beyond LOTRO,
Hang on,
and
Pine Leaf.
we will be
There's a new player
what?
question.
Yeah. Who gets to be Maven?
Oh,
Terry.
okay.
I see how you are. Okay, new player question of the week. What is Weatherstock and how can I participate?
Well, Weatherstock is a musical festival that happens on top of Weathertop every summer. This time it's in July. Normally it's in June. And it's on the 25th or 7th of July.
25th.
And you can participate by rolling a character on Landerville and being escorted to the top by people in the regional chats in the starting areas. And they'll escort you all the way to the Lone Lands, where you can then be on top. Or if you want to be leveled a bit so that you aren't needing protection the whole entire musical, you can level up on the server as well to the 20s so that you can go over there pretty peacefully.
The base.
Elfleth in the chat pointed out it's also a Battle of the Bands type concert. So they have fan voting. They also have Lonely Mountain Band does its own voting. So there's like two different best of show awards that they give out. And you can, depending on if they do it again this year, which I don't know why they wouldn't. Turbine's been pretty good about supporting it. So there may be titles that you can get. You can get the Weatherstock Wayfarer title.
Yeah.
If you're part of it, you get Weatherstock band exclusive titles. You can get titles for being security. It's very cool.
And there's literally hundreds and hundreds of players that are in
So many
game,
people.
not to mention all the people watching on streams and things like that. So it's the biggest event in any online game that is organized by players. So that is pretty impressive, and it's definitely something that you will not want to miss.
So going along this line, let's talk about some of the other events that go on, not just on Landroll, but on other servers, because Lily Kate does a community events post, which I know she gathers a lot of that from the forums. People will send her, and people will also send her information about their events. So she does a community roundup post every week,
And those
which
post on
is,
Sundays or Mondays every week.
yep, and which is a great way of finding out what's going on where. Not just Landroval has concerts. Every server, pretty much every server, has something going on. Landroval is just most famous for it because we have Lonely Mountain Band and we have Weatherstock.
Yep.
I'm excited because this is the first time I'll ever be able to attend Weatherstock because I've always played on a crappy computer before and we're not been able to just attend for other reasons. But this is the
I was
first.
on a crappy computer last
Well,
year and I still went.
I do advise everyone to get there early because there's
Yes.
usually less people there in the first part of the show. So if you are worried about your computer having too much lag, you'll probably still have a lot of lag because there's still over 100 people there at the start of the show. But it will be much less than later in the afternoon and into the, evening.
And
And if
Lily Kate also pointed out that they have 20 bands competing this year, which is more than they've ever had before, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they have 20 bands doing the round performances, and then those So the starting performances then take you to the final 10 performing as the final capstone at Weatherstock.
Yep. So the
Wow.
Weatherstock concert series actually started yesterday.
Yep.
There was a concert last night. There was also a concert today in Bree.
And if you check LOTRO players every morning, you should be able to see when the concerts are, because Locate's trying to post those before they happen, at least the day before, if not
Mm-hmm.
earlier. So
Just a thing for helping to deal with lag, just to turn everything like super low. And I found that zooming in and looking straight at the ground underneath you helps a whole lot.
that helps.
You
And
don't get the chance to
also,
see the bands, but
everyone take off
yeah.
cloaks, because those add a
Yes.
ton of lag.
And
Hats
pets.
too.
And don't be mounted.
Don't be mounted. Don't summon pets. Don't use flashy special effects. Minstrels turn off glowy hands. Disable your cloak. Disable your hat.
Don't use group emotes either.
Yeah, because you
Yeah, those are a
just
pain.
get one there.
And yeah, that's Weatherstock.
And of course, because there's always someone who violates the one about group emotes, give yourself immunity to those emotes.
That
Yes.
helps too, yeah.
And Elise says, and don't let the runekeepers crash the servers. Yes, that too.
And
That
Don't
those
put
in the
down your
front,
stones.
that happened
Don't put down
last
your
year.
Rings of Fire. Even if they're playing Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, don't put down Ring of Fire.
should probably sit down so that the people in the back can see. That's just kind of common courtesy at concerts.
You know the thing in Beauty and the Beast where like they're yelling back and forth at the beast and they're like, and above all, you must control your temper. That whole bit, like, be
Yeah,
kind but courteous. Like that's what just happened.
pretty
Yeah.
much. that, that sums it up pretty well, yeah.
Anything else to add concerning Weatherstock?
I think we're good, Pineleaf.
Go to it.
Also, several folks are going to be streaming it, so if you don't make it in game, I'm sure that there'll be several people that'll have it up online.
Including myself and possibly everybody on this call, depending on if they're available to be on the Skype call that day. So
Mm-hmm.
be sure to check out LOTRO Players. We'll have details on how to follow our stream and all sorts of stuff like that.
Then we'll head into news beyond Lotro. And we're going to start out with some sad news in that Christopher Lee, who was known for such roles as Saruman, has passed away at the age of 93.
Yeah, if you have not heard about this yet, then you have not been on the internet the last few days. It's amazing how many people that have given their kind words and things like that at the loss of Sir Christopher Lee. It's really sad that it happened, but he was also pretty old and in not the best health, so it wasn't the most surprising thing, but it was really sad. Elijah Wood, Dominic Monaghan, Peter Jackson, all sorts of famous people, even George Lucas, and all sorts of famous people were commenting on it and tweeting about it and saying how their thoughts are with his family and things like that.
Prime Minister of England.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Herbrand of Rohan did give out a tweet that I thought was a good idea. He asked, "Can we dedicate this year's at Weatherstock to Sir Christopher Lee, please?" And Weatherstock Twitter actually responded and said that they are looking into it. So there could be some form of dedication at Weatherstock to Christopher Lee, which I think would be pretty awesome to do in memory of him. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Lotro actually did a quick update to Isengard to have the flag be at half staff
Yes.
in Isengard, which is just probably the most appropriate thing they could have done. And so, awesome job by Lotro for doing that. Yeah. Anybody else have anything else to add?
just one thing is like somebody in the chat mentioned, like it's people remember him for his, yeah, he was Saruman, but also like he was in over 200 movies,
Yeah.
and he just so many things. There's an image I saw floating around, like he was this.
He was a Bond villain.
he was a Bond villain, he was Sherlock Holmes, and he was Moriarty, and he was, or it was a macro Moriarty, and it was like just everything,
He was Dracula.
anything.
He was Dooku. Yeah.
And in World War II, he had a, not a, he didn't change the course of the war necessarily, but he had a pivotal role in the war,
Yeah.
in just incredible amount of stuff. Something I saw was like he lived more before he was 25 than most of us ever will, and it's
Yeah.
true. Like it's not like it's important to remember him like for all the stuff that he did, but also what I've found interesting is that the things that people are remembering him for that knew him aren't remembering him for what he did necessarily as for who he was
Right.
and for just everything that he was as a human being apart from he was just an actor because he wasn't just an actor. He was
Yeah. He was a Renaissance man.
gentleman and a scholar. And he's the only like Lord of the Rings person who talked with Tolkien. And yeah, music, heavy metal band.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, just
And it's
incredible
awesome.
person.
It's like I'm not a fan of heavy metal, but his album is awesome. And
Oh yeah.
so, yeah, definitely really cool. He did a lot of amazing stuff through his life.
Then we'll head on to the Song of Durin by Peter Hollins. And what's this about?
Well, Peter Hollins has done a number of Tolkien-related songs, and this time he's singing the Song of Durin, and it is amazing. He does a fantastic job. Uh, I really, really recommend everybody check this out. And yeah, it's really cool.
Then let us head into the main topic for tonight. Anding will be taking over this section where we will discuss Update 16 and what it brought to us and what we like and what we wish didn't go well. Anding.
Yes, well, Pineleaf, it has been over 6 months since we've done a review episode. That's
Ooh.
because it was about 6 months since since update 15 to update 16. So it's really good that they're finally releasing a new update and that we're now able to be here reviewing it. And because, as many of you know, Pineleaf does such an amazing job every single time about summarizing the epic story to the point now where he must have like entire documents of just summaries of the epic story because we've done so many review episodes. We're going to have Pineleaf once again doing the summary of the epic story, and then we'll give our thoughts on our favorites and other things like that. So, spoiler alert, and Pineleaf, go ahead.
That's right. There will be plenty of spoilers in this particular discussion. So if you do not want to hear what happens in the epic storyline, I suggest you turn off the next few minutes
Yeah,
of this
fast forward
podcast.
about 10 minutes probably.
If you recall, in Update 15, we were left regaining Peligir and driving out those Corsairs with the help of a few of the dead. We therefore resume by speaking with Aragorn, who sends us out on a mission to ensure secrecy by killing any Haradrim that may have fled from Peligir after that battle in there. After we do this, we then are asked to do something. You won't believe this, but we are asked to help members of the Great Company.
What?
Imagine that.
Imagine that. In return, though, you do get a banner of Gondor. And that is one of the greatest emotes that we have right now.
Yeah,
And
probably the best emote in the game.
yes, best emote in the game. So you have to do that quest because you are going to want that banner.
Unless you're just anti-Gondor or something.
If you're anti-Gondor, then you're not going to be wanting to do any of the Gondorian quests at all. The last few updates were probably driving you mad.
Then they'll really not want the banner, will they?
That's probably who had it for sale in the auction house.
Someone
Wait,
had it for
how-
sale?
What?
Yeah, for 999 gold on the Landroll auction house.
You can sell the emote? Is it
You
not
can sell
bound
your
to
soul
account?
for that.
Account.
I mean, that's probably not the equivalent of your soul, but why on earth would you not want that?
I know.
I have it. I have two emotes on my hotbars. One is that, and one's Mountain Rear Up. And how would you? Okay, carry on.
We will carry on there. After you do this, you are sent to kill some more Haradrim and then speak with some refugees from the White City. And then you head into the rivers of Lebanon and you are trying to find out what the Haradrim are up to, and they are trying to cross various rivers in here. Once you go into there, you then meet an old friend. If you recall, way back when you were at Western Gondor, you ran into a merchant. And this merchant was trying to fix his wagon, and, well, let's just say his son didn't do a stellar job in buying supplies. You run back into him, and this time he is trying to find out what exactly is going on the road ahead, and you're asked to scout ahead to find out, is it safe to go through a particular town? You get there, and you find that that town is overrun with orcs. Translated, it's not safe to go through there. After that, after you help him and they decide that they're going to have to go elsewhere, you then head into Ithilien. And Ithilien is all nice and beautiful, of course, because Ithilien's a very, very nice looking zone. It would probably look a lot better if orcs hadn't taken over the place. And in there, you go into there and you find you cross the river and you go into Ithilien, and there you meet two hunters. And these two hunters decide that they are going to go after some really big game, the mammoth.
Yeah.
Really big.
You can follow one of the two brothers, and depending on which brothers you're following, you'll either be hearing a conversation either from the orc's point of view or from the point of view of the Haradrim. And they're, of course, they're talking about how they don't trust the other side. And there's this guy, Gothmog, that neither of them like. And he's some sort of powerful general that they are serving under. After you do that, you are sent into Osgiliath to look for Faramir. And that's the entire reason why you're sent into Ithilien in the first place, was to find Faramir. And you go into there, and you search for Faramir and some of his men, and you find some of his men, but you don't find Faramir himself. You are, though, given a hint that there was an orc that was bearing a message that got killed in some rubble, and that you should go and find out what that message is. Now, the Rangers can't read that very well, the Rangers of Ithilien that you find within Osgiliath, but they think that it has something to do with a new powerful weapon that the orcs are bringing, a huge ram by the name of Grond.
Wow, that was well done, Pineleaf. Pronunciation.
And Grond, you
Now
are
you're just
asked
showing
then
off.
to go in and destroy this new weapon. And you go in there, you fight some orcs, and you wonder what's going on and everything, because there aren't quite as many orcs as you were expecting in the area. And eventually, you do find Grond, and it's huge. And you're asked somehow to hurt this thing, and you go around trying to break it, and eventually, you do break a couple of its wheels to slow it down. So you slow the progress of Grond, but you're not going to be able to keep it from eventually being used against Minas Tirith, which is what they're proposing to do with this thing. And after you do this, you meet Gothmog. Gothmog appears, and it turns out that Gothmog is Mordorith.
What?
What?
That's right. Mordorith is back. with a new name brought back into, well, not life might be a poor use of the word, by Sauron in order to continue to do evil. And he has a prophecy that as long as Goladir lives, he cannot die.
Dang.
Talk about a grudge.
That's a grudge. Now, Grunt and Gothmog is telling about how Goladir is there weeping up in Angmar, far away from everything.
Oh, he's in for a shock.
Yeah, he's in for a shock.
Because
Pretty
Gold
sure I saw that guy in Peller gear.
It'd be
And
funny though.
actually, there that does bring concerning Peligir is that when you saw the mood that Goladir was in inside Peligir, you knew that something was wrong with him. It's
Yeah.
probably something has to do with the return of Mordorith, and that the two getting close to each other that might be causing whatever is happening currently to Goladir.
The
Ooh,
We'll have
that
to
imbalance.
makes
find
sense,
out.
actually. Makes sense in retrospect, kind
Yeah,
of.
actually.
Right. So there was some sort of hint that something's going on with Goladir, but I had no idea what it might be until I ran into Gothmog and found out that Mordorith is back.
Wouldn't that be like the worst nightmare ever? Realizing that like the person who ruined your entire family is back? That would be, oh man. That's amazing.
Mm.
And that is where we end the epic storyline for this point. Who knows what's going to happen next? But we're pretty sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of Gothmog in the future.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Awesome. Awesome job, Pineleaf. So now we'll go on to our first question. What is your favorite epic quest or moment in the epic story? So your favorite part of the epic story, and we'll start with Terry.
Oh, sure, you caught me in the middle of a yawn.
Yeah, because why not?
Just that interesting of a podcast.
Well, you know, it's getting late.
You
Yeah.
were so confident with your answer that you just yawned it away.
Well, it's pine leaf is so soothing.
Okay.
Favorite. I have to pick just one.
Yep.
Uh,
So Aerithert, what's your favorite moment in the epic story?
Yeah. Oh, so like if you want, I can go and you can pass. The very beginning, when like you go to the place and there's King Aragorn, quite obviously King Aragorn, and there's like all the rangers, and you're like, oh hey, I've seen you before, and it's like, hey, I've seen you before. It was cool, like just seeing everybody around. Like that's the first time that I can remember seeing Aragorn as king. Like I mean, I might be remembering things wrong, which is entirely probable, but it's like, man, this is cool. Yeah, good. Let's do this stuff, and we're getting to, yeah. It was cool. That was my favorite part. Was when you come in, like you turn the corner and you go into that little spot at the very, very beginning of the epic line, and you just see King Aragorn, and it's cool.
All right, Terry.
okay, so my favorite moment is probably going to be when we catch up with that guy on the road that we met way back at the beginning of Volume 4. Because that was a neat little tie-in, because I haven't actually finished the epic story yet. So far, my favorite bit of the epic was catching up with that guy. Actually, after the other guy that we're traveling with catches up to us and the guy figures out who we've been traveling with, and he's like, oh, don't tell him about my son. Or he's like, hoping that you give his lord a really good report that, you know, when you, because you catch up with the guy and you go scout the town and you come back and report your findings, and I can't recall if it's part of the epic or if it's a side quest, but you have to go into town and find out what the son's been up to, because he's supposed to be finding
love
It's
that
part of the
part.
epic.
buyers.
That's the
He's
epic.
supposed to be finding buyers for the products that they've got in their wagon, and you go into town and he's chatting up the girls.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's one of my that might replace.
It's great.
That fits the moment.
Like totally expected. He's totally goofing off and chatting up the girls. And you go back
Awesome.
to his dad, and his dad's like, "Oh my God, this is my lord that she's been traveling with. Please don't tell me that my son's being just a lazy bum." Yeah.
Awesome. Pine Leaf.
When we are with the two hunters, I told you about when we were with the two hunters looking for the Mamook and listening to the two sides talking about Gothmog. Of course, after we do that, little detail I had forgot to mention is we actually do see the Mamook appear. So this will be the first time in which on the live server I have seen an elephant.
Yeah, that's really cool. Barnabas in the chat says Gothmog is referenced once in the Lord of the Rings, and his race is not given, only that he is second in command. So that leaves a lot of room for Turbine to do what they apparently did. So that's pretty cool.
Right. Okay, that he's second in command. I guess it makes sense that he would be second in command because obviously they had to have some big enemy for us to fight other than the Witch King, since obviously we can't kill the Witch King for obvious reasons.
Right. We can't. We might be able to session play at some point, but we ourselves
Yeah, we
can't.
might be able to session play.
My favorite moment is probably Pinely pronouncing that weapon, because that's just amazing. No, in all seriousness, it's probably the hunters, because that's pretty cool. Alright, although Lillicate says that she'll never do that quest because she wants to see the elephants live forever. But anyway.
We don't kill the elephant in that quest.
Yeah,
You
you
actually
can.
run
Yeah, the hunters are.
Yeah, you just
we
run
are
away.
run
Right,
off
but-
away
fighting
from the
the
elephant.
Right, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with that. Anyway, do we like where the epic is going is our next question. And Herethard, what do you think?
Short answer or long answer?
Long answer.
Yes. I like where it's going. I feel like just from what we've seen that we're gonna kind of go south before we get to the gates of like the Black Gates, which is, I mean, I'm excited to go south. I kind of want to see like I like how it's going where we're on this side of it, where in the books we're kind of on the other side of it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like in the
Yeah.
books you don't really see this whole coming up the Anduin River and all this stuff. Like we're doing behind the scenes stuff like we've always done. But I think I said this before right after it came out, but you feel like these behind the scenes that you're doing now are so closely tied in with the books that your name's got to be in the appendix somewhere. Like you're so closely like intertwined. Your story's becoming more and more intertwined with the Fellowship as you go along in the epic stories. Because in the beginning, like book one, you're off in Angmar doing stuff and hating
Yeah,
life.
who cares?
Yeah, but the thing is, keep in mind, it is Frodo, Sam, and Bilbo that were writing this story, not anyone that we're interacting with.
Yeah, so it's interesting though, because like we get the other side of it, where
Right.
I mean, you could believe that this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
like, and it's kind of it reminds me, in all honesty, of the way that Tolkien wrote his creation story. Tolkien was a devout Catholic, but he wrote his story of creation in a way that it could still fit with that Catholic outlook on life. Like it could still fit with the Catholic religion in a way. Like it's not the teaching of the Catholic Church, but it's not the teaching, if that's what makes sense. So like what we're doing here in these epic books is not in the books, but it's not in the books either. Like, yeah, I
Right.
could totally believe this happening. Like, this is the book that Tolkien left out. Like my part in the story. Dang it! Why didn't you write it in, Tolkien? This would have been cool. But
And I
the
think
fact
that
that we're
that's one
getting
of the
to do
cool
it
things
is
about
so good.
LOTRO as a whole, is that across the board, throughout the entire thing, that's basically what LOTRO's doing, is they're taking the gaps that Tolkien leaves open, which
Yeah.
thankfully he left a ton of gaps open, and LOTRO's fleshing those out and
Mm.
basically putting meat on the bones of Tolkien's work, and it's just fantastic. And I love the way they do it, and it
Yeah,
seems that they've done a good job from
so
what I've
good.
seen so far in Gondor. So
I would say that the story, right up along with the landscape, is. I would probably say the story is my favorite part of this
yeah,
update.
but we'll get to that later, Arthur.
Oh yeah, sorry.
All right. Does anyone else have any other comments on if they like where the epic is going or not?
I like it where it's going, and I think though that the portrayal that they have of Gothmog in this, I think is going a lot better direction than Peter Jackson's version of the Gothmog.
Yes. We still have to wait and see if he spits on any rocks that fly down right before his face, but I doubt that'll happen.
He looks more impressive than Peter Jackson's, but not as ugly. So,
But I
You're
don't
right.
know if when you're talking about orcs, I think ugly has to do with impressiveness for the other orcs around him. So, it
so,
depends on your point of view.
so the scenario is which Gothmog would be better at picking up orc girls?
I don't think that that's Sauron's qualifications for his lieutenants.
No, but in terms of like good looks, like I've got them good orc looks.
So Aerithert and Carve might not be on the show again next week, but anything else, Pineleaf? If you can breathe.
Did we break Pineleaf again?
I think we broke Pineleaf.
All right, let's continue.
Okay. So let's go on to side quests now. And there's just the normal side quest questions that we have. Were there any side quests that you did not like? This is your opportunity to rant about any side quests in the new area. Terry, what do you think?
I actually haven't run into any side quests that just made me roll my eyes and go, "Oh my God, are you really making me do this?"
Well, that's good news.
Which, to be fair, I ran into quite a few of those even just in the last update, because fishing in Peligir, really? They haven't asked me to fish yet in Osgiliath. Mind you, I'm not through all of the side quests in Osgiliath, but I haven't found fishing yet in Osgiliath, so that's like extra points right there.
Oh dang it! I gotta go fishing in Osgiliath.
I
I'm
mean,
fishing in
each one
Dol
of them
Amroth now.
depends,
It's like,
you
what
know,
am I doing?
don't want them to send me on a quest to do it, because there's bigger problems.
Yeah.
Bigger fish to fry?
Oh.
But
Does anyone else have any other side quests they didn't like?
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
there's one thing. It's not a particular side quest. It's just that any quest that sent me into tall river reeds. Yeah! When you're going into reeds that are almost twice as tall as you are, it's
Yeah, I can see that as a hobbit.
Yeah,
it's a Hobbit thing.
I feel like that needs to be a T-shirt. It's a Hobbit thing.
That does need to be a t-shirt. Aerithert, what about you? Do you have any side quests you don't like?
There were like not necessarily side quests. I remember there being a couple spots where I was like, yeah. I know the ones around the river with the goddess where you had to like go all the way back to wherever the heck it was in like West Gondor almost. And I feel like we had to talk to the river daughters or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. There was one quest where you have to talk to these girls in the river, and it was kind of annoying. That one
So
was.
you didn't like talking to
What do you
girls in a
mean?
river?
That's my favorite.
Nope.
I know.
I got my sword in other ways, for those of you who know Monty Python. But it was it just seemed like I don't know. It just seemed more of an annoyance than I love this quest. You know, that was the only one that like stuck out to me of like, this is annoying.
I thought that was pretty cool, but okay.
Like it was cool. The story with it was cool, but it was like, And then I realized like afterwards, like after I got all the way there and then all the way back, that I picked up a deed to go pick up things right next to them, and I was like, dang it. So I still haven't gotten those baskets of flowers except for the one that was near me when I ended.
All right. And next question is, what is your favorite side quest? And let's start with Pine Leaf.
River Daughters.
Awesome. We don't need any explanation. Terry, what do you think?
That was actually my favorite side quest too.
All right, and Third.
That was actually my favorite side quest too. Not really. Um, I don't know. Like I like the ones in was it Pelargir? Where you're like getting people ready to go. Like for some
Yeah.
reason those seem like they were not your normal getting people ready to go annoying quests, but they were actually fun. Like I enjoyed those getting people ready to go quests because we've had plenty of getting people ready to go quests throughout the stories, but those were fun.
Yeah,
And I like the ones like the first time in in Osgiliath, just being mildly scared of my life and like running around and seeing how many of these things I can pull and still live with all my cooldowns and guardianness. And actually, I can't remember the one spot where it is, but there's the what is it? It's like this town. Is it Harland? Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Harland. Yeah, I like those quests, like where you go into Harland, and it was those were a lot of fun because it was like dangerous and like I liked it.
all right, mine has to be the River Daughters as well, because that was really cool. Okay, landscape. Do we like the landscape with Eastern Gondor? We're still in the Dawnless Day, but they did do some cool things to the Dawnless Day this time. So, what do you guys think? Do we like the landscape? This is just an open question to anybody that wants to answer.
Yes.
All right,
We're going
anything?
into Ithilien in springtime. What's not to like?
Yeah,
Really
it's
pretty.
really pretty. Even under the dawnless day, it's still really pretty. I mean, it's hard to
Dark beauty type thing.
I
yeah.
think that this is the best looking environment we've seen during the Dawnless Day. I think that they did a really good job with it.
I can't wait to see it after the Dawnless Day.
Oh
Like it's
yeah,
gonna be
I
really
I can't wait to see everywhere we've been after the Dawnless Day. I hope they allow us to phase that out at some point, but I doubt that they will. But hopefully, at least in Minas Tirith area, we'll be able to see it without Dawnless Day, because that'd be really
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
the shining city of white, etc.
Hmm. All right, and is the landscape big enough without Minas Tirith? It seems like we kind of go around Minas Tirith, and do we think that it's proportional to previous places in Gondor? And even if it's not, do we think that it's big enough? Uh, Terry.
It's definitely proportionate to other places in Gondor. I mean, if you compare it to Western Gondor, especially, because Western Gondor was and then Dol Amroth, which took up huge chunks of time. I actually think that of the three areas that we have in Gondor right now, that Central Gondor is probably the weakest, because Eastern
Hmm.
Gondor seems better than Central.
I'd
Because you have
agree with
Osgiliath,
that from a landscape point of view.
because you have Osgiliath, and there's so, I mean, Osgiliath is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it is. Very big. And we even see a little bit into Mordor, kind of.
Yeah, and the fact that you can see, I mean, you can't obviously go there for reasons, but the
So
fact
you
that you
can't make a
can,
casual stroll to Mordor?
no, you can't, well, you
You
could
can
try and then die horribly, but
you can casually stroll to Mordor, you just can't actually go
Get in
inside
there.
Mordor.
to where they're going to kill you in Mordor,
Yeah.
uh, peek through into the Morgul Vale and see, no, I really don't want to go that way.
At which point the stroll is no longer so casual, but
Turns into an interval
And
training of running.
see Minas Tirith across the river, which is also
Oh,
very
that
cool
was cool.
because it's like I want to be there, but for reasons you can't go there yet.
all right. Anyone else?
Yeah, comparing the three regions, like Central, Western, and Eastern Gondor, I feel like Western Gondor just feels the best, like the most appropriately sized and natural
Yeah.
feeling. Central Gondor just seemed like there was way too much space in between things. Like it could have been like 90 to 95% of the size that it was, and it would have worked. And but I mean, but at the same time, traveling through it, it's not all that bad. It's just the things were laid out weird. And then in Eastern Gondor, it just seems like it's so narrow. Like I know it's supposed to be, but even within the space that we have, it's super narrow. Like the with the way the mountains and
Well, it's
stuff
because they
is.
cut out Minas Tirith out of it, so we're literally just going around the city on the edge of the landscape.
Yeah, I just feel like the way that it is, like trying to get around that one spot in the middle where there's like you can't get around it except by one or maybe two ways in the
Yeah.
entire width of the map. There's only two little narrow ways to get through this one spot. That was kind of an like, ugh, to me. Maybe it's just me, but like it was like, eh. And there was one quest where it was like you kill something and its its body must be like you're chasing things into the water, like and the guy runs away from you and jumps into the water in one of the spots. There's a couple guys that run away and do that. You know what I'm talking about? There's a quest where like we're killing stuff and it runs away and jumps in the water. And then like the quest text is like its body is washed away downstream. It must be in Osgiliath by now. And I was like, wait a minute. Osgiliath is upstream. It doesn't make any sense. But that was just like a random note on the landscape. So like, eh. But yeah, it just seems like it's a little tiny bit too narrow. But I like the way it's laid out. Like things seem to flow naturally throughout it, which is nice.
Except for the river, which needs to go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, in certain parts. It's the tides, probably. It's the tides.
I would have thought that Minas Tirith was too far north to be affected by the tides. Peligir would be, yes.
I'm working with it here.
Maybe the currents changed when Aragorn let the curse go. We don't know.
Okay.
It's Middle Earth magic.
Do you believe in magic? On a
What you gonna
LOTRO
say
map.
it's looking like the St. John River.
Okay. It's denial. Like denial.
Anyway, this update also came with a big LI update. There were a lot of changes and that were much anticipated by a lot of players. And so now we're going to go into the discussion about LIs. So first of all, do we like the new imbuement system? Arithert, you've gone the farthest. What do you think?
Uh, I today, thanks to the help of wonderful people, I managed to get my first LI like all the way maxed out. Not all the way maxed out, but up to where I have it unlocked to. Um, I have completely torn feelings about the imbuement system because, like, for different aspects of my gameplay, as a DPS guardian, I love it. It's amazing. I'm doing more damage. You can customize it a little tiny bit more because there's no major minor legacy thing. Um, Not much has changed in that regards, to be honest, like in terms of legacy things. But the end product of the DPS Guardian, I kind of like. Um, from a tanking Guardian perspective, I refuse to imbue my tanking weapons because with the update, they reduce Guardian AoE targets to 5, which makes no sense to me. Like a hunter has 10 targets on some things, and I've got 5, and I'm supposed to tank everything with 5. No. So I'm keeping my 12 targets on things. Thank you very much. So tanking on a guardian, like no. From the perspective of a creep, imbuement sucks. Like people, like it tilted a little bit freep heavy, but after the update, man, it's nuts. Like there's no way that it's very very imbalanced. And I'm speaking like I'm very much enjoying being able to kill rank 12 and 13s with comparative ease on my guardian that's rank 6, but that shouldn't be happening. Like healing and damage is way up from where it was before with some of these with these updates, and it's I'm glad to see that they're doing the PvMP stuff, and hopefully that'll even it out a bit in that regards. But so like I have mixed feelings on it depending. One thing that I don't like about it is that they made a lot of class changes in with the legacy and LI changes. So it's not so much like it would have been nice to have the LI changes and then the class changes, and maybe it would have balanced a little better and been a little smoother. I think there's some legacies that are still weird, like that just don't quite work right from what I understand, and some that are still entirely useless. And things like the idea was to get it to where you have a weapon that will level with you. And that I think they did a good job of. People are complaining about the grind, but it's not supposed to be done within 3 days. It's supposed to be something that takes you the rest of your playtime to do. So I'm fine with it being a long grind to get this thing to max level. But the actual legacies themselves, like some are like meh, and weapons really haven't changed in
What
in
do they
any
mean it's a long time to get to max level?
like getting your LI from from when you first imbue it to all of the legacies level 35.
Yeah, there were a lot of people
Okay. They're
complaining.
A
trying to
lot of
get them all
people,
the way up to
yeah,
35.
a
Okay,
lot of people
There
were
were a
not.
lot of
okay.
people
I didn't think
complaining.
that people were doing that.
Yeah, there were a lot of people complaining that they could not get it up to the top tier very quickly,
And
which
like, no,
I
Duh!
think is
yeah,
exactly, it's
it's
completely
good.
ludicrous. You shouldn't be doing that overnight. And I'm really, really glad that they implemented it in a way to where it'll take a long time. I'm
Yeah.
so bored on mounted combat because I've got to the end of the progression and it becomes pointless at that point. I need something new to progress, and when they're not raising the level cap, we gotta have something to give us stuff. So I totally disagree with everybody on that.
The only a downside that I see of it is with 16.1, there was a legacy change for Guardians, where a legacy that before was total piece of junk now is super insanely good. Which is like reactive parry damage. Before it was meh, like nobody would really slot it. Like in some cases you would, and some people would, but now it's basically all of your parry skills do up to 30% more damage at once you max it all out, which is insanely good. So now it's something that everyone wants this legacy now, but changing a legacy out on an imbued item is a lot more involved than changing a legacy out on a non-imbued item. So it takes longer and something like so I hope they don't like that's a downside of it that I see is that if there are legacy changes and class changes in the future, people are going to be needing to be redoing imbued legendary items, which is going to be a huge pain to deal with. So that's like a downside I see of the imbuement system as a whole. But I mean, overall, I'd say it was good and it was needed, and they did a pretty good job of implementing it. There's some things that I didn't like about it. The whole fact that there were a lot of class changes along with it, I'm not thrilled about. And from a creep perspective, I don't like it. From a guardian tanking perspective, I do not like it. But other than that, it's good. It's solid, I would say.
All right, Aerithart covered a lot of ground, but does anybody have anything
Sorry.
else to add?
Well, I can say I haven't actually imbued my allies on my level cap champion.
Do you think
Um,
you're going to?
I haven't decided yet because I haven't really played around with. Well, really, there's no reason for me to do it because they didn't give champions anything good. Still, again, really, because I feel a little undervalued when I play a champion. It's like because I go through all of my other alt allies and it's like this is really good. This is kind of good. This is kind of meh, but it's still better than what my champion's got on her ally. So that's been pretty much my reaction to allies in general. And really, the only thing I can say about imbuement is I kind of wish they would let you do it earlier, because I would love to do it like with my characters that aren't at level 100 yet, and not have to swap out their allies every other level,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
that's an enormous pain.
yeah. And I think that is part of the plan, if I remember correctly from some streams and stuff. But it's something that they can't roll out all the way down to start with. It they were going to roll out at cap and then work on maybe getting it down to other levels.
Right, I mean, especially when they're building Minas Tirith, plus
Yeah.
whatever new thing that they were talking about that is a way that we've never seen before. They probably need
Plus
to be devoting
PVMP.
time to that rather than
And
max scaling allies.
yeah. And I mean, just a note from someone in chat, like it's for those who don't know, imbuement is something that at cap you can do with your weapons that as you get your legendary items, you level up and you change out your legendary items. Imbuement basically means that you have the legendary item and you keep that legendary item, you imbue it, and then you can improve on it even more at cap. And
Right.
then
So
that's the legendary item you keep, for the rest of the game, ideally.
exactly, and so you can level it up even more, and so it's like this new progression for your ally. One thing that they did mention in the forums, which they didn't give a definitive answer to, somebody asked if they were going to, they specifically asked recently, I think it was after the update came out, if they were going to be supporting the non-imbued weapons after when the new level cap comes, and they didn't give a definitive answer. And so it sounds like they're kind of waiting to see if people really, really like the imbue system, to see if they can maybe save work and just not introduce the way to. So basically, you'll have to imbue.
Which I hope they don't do.
I really hope they don't do, because I like the option. I
Yeah,
like the
it's nice.
option for players. I know it's probably more work where they have to keep both systems going, but I really, really like having the option, and I think it's worth the extra amount of work that it might take.
For sure.
Um, so hopefully they will allow both options going forward as we get to higher and higher places. So now, my next question is, what, if anything, would you change about the imbue system?
Well, we covered mine already. That I would do it earlier. Not even necessarily at level 50 when you first get your weapon, because you need time to play with it and decide which legacies you want. But at like level 60, when you've had
Yeah, that'd be good.
15 to 10, 10 to 15 levels to play with it, depending on when you decide to go get your LI. You've got an idea already of what kind of legacies you're looking to have on your weapon. You've had to change out
Yeah,
a
when
couple of times,
when
and
did,
by
when
then
do you learn the last skill that you learn, other than like enhanced whatever skill? Is that at 60?
No, because I'm
mm,
pretty sure wardens get their
varies
last
by
skill well after
class.
that.
No,
It
there's a
varies by
couple new
class,
ones
but
that
it's
show up in the 70s.
It's going to
it's
vary by class because different classes get their skills at different levels.
but
Because that'd be cool to do
85
after you get your last skill.
85 is definitely the last, because when they brought it up to 95, they switched to the other system. So
Yeah.
Okay,
85 is
so
And
like
definitely the
maybe at
end.
85 you imbue or something. Because
well,
like it'd be awkward to imbue something and then you get a skill and you're like, oh, there's a legacy for this. That would have been nice.
well, you still have the
You know?
option of getting more skills later too, because depending on how you end up spending your trait points.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
imbuement system, you can trade things out relatively easily as well. So,
Yeah. At cost, but easily.
right. All
True.
right.
I would.
And
I
does it
mean,
feel? Go ahead.
if I
Before you move
if
on.
I could change something in it, it would be kind of a nice. It's probably insanely hard to implement, but it'd be nice to be able um, to have like the another way to unlock levels, maybe, or to have the ability to like stop, where you can stop leveling something, like disable leveling on individual legacies if you really want to focus on getting one up. That would be kind of nice. I'm sure it's impossible to do because I think someone mentioned it and they were like, no, that putting that in would be too difficult and too time consuming and almost impossible. But to be able to disable like leveling certain legacies would be kind of neat because if you're like, well, I don't need this one legacy up higher, I'd rather get these other up. That'd be nice. But other than that, like for imbuement, the imbuement system, I like it, except for the few things that I mentioned. It's super well implemented. They thought of pretty much everything.
The only negative I have against it is that it feels like it takes away a little too much depth, and I don't really know how they would change it to make it be simple enough and yet still too complex, so I'm kind of really being nitpicky, but it just feels a little too simple for me. That's just my 2 cents, though. Maybe it's also because I'm on the champion, and like Terry said, it seems like they weren't the most creative with it. But
Yeah, everything got switched to pretty much just straight damage legacies, which is a
yeah.
bummer.
But I mean, it is another option for players, and you don't have to do it. So at the end of the
Yeah,
day, if you don't
exactly.
like the imbuement system, you don't have to use it. And I think that that is probably its biggest strength, and
Yep.
hopefully they'll keep that going. All right, any other thoughts on allies? All right, let's go on to the new instances. We finally got new instances. We
Yeah.
hadn't gotten any new
Yay!
instances since before Epic Battles came out with the last expansion LOTRO had in 2013. So it has been a long, long time since we've had new instances. So first of all, very basic question that probably wasn't thought out too much. Do you like the new instances? And let's start with Aerithird, since I know you've done them.
I have only done the 3-mans, not the 6-man yet.
All right.
But I actually did the Ruined City for the first time today. It was fun. They're not straight, like they have mechanics in them that you have to consider, which I like a lot. Especially like the Sunken Labyrinth. There's a lot of stuff that you can't just like tank and spank. It doesn't work like that, which I like a lot. It's something that's gonna take coordination that a pug might not necessarily pick like a pug pickup group might not necessarily be able to just run in and do. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be something that requires knowing what you're doing, which I like a lot. It's rough, yes. They're difficult. I know my kin has had. I don't think my kin has done as a kinship any of the tier 2 ones, um, but that's not a bad thing. Like it's something that doing the hard, like the challenge mode version, if it's rewarding, and you get the rewards, it's a long grind to get the armor for it. The 5-slot armor, the 5-slot essence armor, which is basically the rewards for doing the tier 2 stuff, essentially. Um, it's a long grind to get them, but it's, I mean, I think it's appropriately difficult, and the challenge and stuff is difficult, which I like the fact that it's hard and not just mindless. I like them a lot. I'm super excited to try Dome. Cannot wait.
Yeah, from what I saw during the beta, I think that they are really good additions. They seem to be challenging enough, and I don't know, do they have good rewards there, Third? Did you see how that was going?
I know there's like some slotted like 3-slot jewelry, essence jewelry that you can get, which is quite nice. I know there's a necklace, some bracelets. I know the cloaks are pretty good. If um, I haven't done them enough to get all the different drops, but yeah, the drops are nice for sure. And the like the marks and medallions is meh, but
Velvet
other
16 in the chat says that there's also a new armor set, so that's cool.
yeah, yeah, there's some really nice stuff. And then of course when you do the tier 2 challenge mode, you get Morgul crests, which drop when you from the chest there, and then 20 of those you can use to buy a 5-slot essence armor piece instead of the 4-slot stuff we get at Dol Amroth. So that's a
That's
nice,
valuable.
yeah, it is. It doesn't have the passive on it. So like on
Mm,
the heavy set, you've got the passive 119 might or whatever it is. It doesn't have that, but it's got an extra slot. Even just slotting a might essence in there would be better.
right.
Um, so it's a slight upgrade for sure. Um, I'm not gonna grind 100 to 150 instances on tier 2 to get it a full set of that stuff, but it would be, I mean, it'd be nice, and I'm not going to turn down getting it if I do happen to get one. But it's cool. I like the rewards in that the best gear is reserved for the players that are willing to do the hardest stuff many times. It's
And I like
probably could
from
be
what you told me, it
lowered.
sounds like that it's not that much of an improvement, which I think is also important to have that balance where it's
Yeah,
not so much that to do like even landscape stuff you need it. It's just
yeah,
enough to where if you want to be really good at instances, you should grind a lot through them and then you'll get the armor, which is what
yeah.
instance people usually seem to like.
It'd
So,
be nice if it was maybe 15 crests or something instead of 20, because you might get one, maybe 2 crests an instance, from what I understand.
yeah.
So I mean, that's a long grind to get a set of that stuff. But I mean, I'm seeing people running around with 2 and 3 pieces of it already. So hey, go for it.
I
Well,
haven't done
it
them.
has been a while since instances have come out, so I think that that probably
Yeah,
has something to do
still.
with it as well,
Yeah.
with how big the grind is. Anybody else have any other thoughts on just the first question for the instances?
I haven't actually done them on live yet. I did the beta run through with you, but I haven't actually done it on live yet because I'm a little chicken of trying to group with people in on Landroval that I
Well,
don't know.
we'll have to get together with Aerithid or something and do something.
He doesn't have anybody on cap
I
at
don't have
Landry
anybody
Ball.
at Cap on Landerfall. I'm on Gladden.
That's
Well,
not going to
we'll have
limit
to
us.
grab Trish. That's what we gotta do. We should grab Trish, or we should grab Pine Leaf.
There we go.
Actually, I was wondering that me grabbing Aerotherapy, seeing that I've got a Captain Ward on both Landreville and on Gladden.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Or
fine, Pinely. If you go join Aerotherapy and
if you
we'll
wanna
do
pay
our
for
own
like
stuff.
a transfer to Landreval, I'll run them with you and then transfer me back to Gladden. I'd be totally down for that.
We won't pay for your return journey.
Oh,
But
thanks.
That's right. You gotta stay with us forever.
Anyway, we don't know yet whether or not return trips will be possible because I know currently you can't do return trips once you
That's
get
true.
get a
Oh
transfer.
wow, that's depressing. No, I've seen people transfer off to other servers.
you
and then
can
come back.
transfer to a different server, but you can't transfer back to the one you just came from.
So
You might
have
be able to do, like,
bounce
a
through another
three-step.
server.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a waltz of servers.
yeah. Because I know folks. Because I know folks have like
three. Landreval,
taken-
Brandywine, Gladden.
Yeah,
Landreval,
because people
And
Brandywine,
90 bucks later, you'll be back on the server you started.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
if you're waltzing through servers, you apparently got some money to blow. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I know folks have left like Gladden to go to Brandywine, rank up in the Moors, and then come back to Gladden and be rank 15 and whoop-de-doo. So I know that's a thing that you can come back eventually.
All right. And Aerotherts, would you improve anything with the instances based on what you've seen so far?
I haven't run them enough to answer that really.
All right. Well, chat room and later people, once you listen to this episode, let us know in our comment section on LOTROplayers.com on this post if you think that there's anything you might want to improve. Do you want new instances in the future? I'm assuming we can all answer this yes, but does anybody answer no?
Yes, I definitely want new instances.
For sure.
All
Who
right.
I
doesn't
haven't
want
done
new
them yet, but I wanna
instances,
see
really?
it.
These are so well designed too that like I mean I'm seeing guides in the forums with step-by-step maps and here's who to target first on
Yeah.
every poll. Like for an instance to be well designed enough and complicated enough that things like that are existing even. Not everybody needs them, I'm sure, but that it's out there and guides are like if you search Lotro and then a new instance name, guide, walkthrough, like all come up. So people are looking for ways to do these things, and it's a challenge in the game, and I really think that's a good thing.
Definitely.
It's
Right,
nice
and this
to
is
see
a little
those.
bit of predictions slash what you kind of want for your dream stuff. Aside from Shelob's Lair, what would you like to see as new instances? I think we all kind of have heard that one go around, but is there any other content that you'd like to give Turbine ideas for on things you'd like to see as new instances with some of the story that we got coming up, or maybe some things that we've already done in Lotro?
Oh, Pelennor.
Do we want to see that as instances, or do we want to see that as epic battles or whatever new thing they come up with?
I don't want to see
Yeah,
this
like
epic
I don't
battle.
know.
I don't either, but
But I mean, I don't want to see it as an epic battle, but I don't know if you could do it as just a straight instance and make it feel large
Yeah.
and epic enough.
Probably going to be some type of instance, maybe a
Yeah.
new type of instance. Because technically, epic battles are an instance too. They're just
Yeah.
they are. They're just not typically considered as one. And people, whenever people say, "Oh, we haven't got any new instances," they don't include epic battles in that list. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool. Go ahead.
Like some people ignore skirmishes when they talk about instances.
that's
Yeah.
what we really need. We need new skirmishes more than we need
Yeah.
instances.
Be nice to get some skirmishes maybe into Harad or something like that.
that could be cool.
Like
That
raiding
could be
parties
cool.
or something like
I
that. like
think that
offensive
some
skirmish.
of the corners of Osgiliath might make good good skirmish fodder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see
Absolutely.
that.
Like even just a Dome of the Stars skirmish. You could do that pretty, I mean, not easily. I don't know how easy any of these things are to do, but like that could be done. Or something like maybe now that we've left Pelargir, there's a counterattack against Pelargir.
Yeah.
You know, have
Well,
that be like a
originally
defensive skirmish.
skirmishes were made to be the thing that replaces instances. If you go back and watch some of those old dev diaries, they're talking about how maybe they're not gonna like completely replace them, but they're kind of like the new thing that's being able to be scaled. And LOTRO won a ton of awards for the skirmish system because it was something that no other MMO had. For that scalable and with the soldiers and all the details that are in skirmishes,
Mm-hmm.
no other MMO had that. And it's kind of sad that they just abandoned the system, it seems. And I hope that we can get a new skirmish now that we've gotten new instances.
Yeah, skirmishes or instances. Like it'd be fun to see something down in Rune, Harad, not Rune. Something maybe like like in the future, maybe going to Minas Morgul to clear it out or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like that'd be fun. Maybe something in Moria itself. Maybe I don't know if we get that far. I kind of don't want to go into
I
Moria.
presume you mean Mordor.
Mordor.
Mordor. I keep saying that. Dang it! I said that last time too. Ah.
Yes.
Of course, I don't
You're
want to go
not the
back to
first
Moria
LOTRO
either.
podcaster to do that, so.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't have a problem going
Casually
back to
strolling to Moria. My journey ended 50 levels ago. Okay.
Moria.
Well, it was really funny because Merrick actually did say Moria when he was talking about Mordor and vice versa. And so it was funny because their podcast is named Casually Strolling to Mordor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, we should have more Moria instances. I mean,
I second and third that.
because with like this Bingo Boffin thing, which by the way, um is actually a note for those of you who don't know, Bingo is a name that Tolkien was using for Frodo in early
Yep.
drafts, which
Yep.
I'm so glad he changed to Frodo. But um so that's like a nod to that, which is kind of cool. But with what he's doing, like with these things coming up, I don't really know what they are, but it'd be cool if we could get some new instances with him in them. That'd be neat, you know.
One
Maybe
thing
an
that we
instance
didn't
of
get
skirmish.
was instances related to Rohan for especially like the first half. We got the epic battles for the second half, but for that first half, they went to do the Hobbit tie-in Erebor stuff. So they just totally skipped that part of LOTRO for instance and skirmishy type content. So that'd be something I'd like to see them go back and do.
Skirmish in Wildemore.
And that would be cool as well.
How about a skirmish against Rook?
Oh, yes. Now that needs to happen. Yes. That needs to happen. At the very end, we'll meet up with him before the game ends. That'd be cool. Or at least before the
Or
scouring.
something
That'd be
like
cool.
Scouring of the Shire skirmish, where or
We already
like,
got that.
Just as
Scouring-
long as it's that's Trouble in Tuckbarrow. Just as long as it's
That's
not
true.
another something like Battle in the Tower where somebody else gets to steal your glory and kill the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe I mean I could see the it'd be cool if there was a way to do. I mean I'm sure there is a way to do grouped session play, so you could do the Scouring of the Shire as hobbits.
That'd be cool. Barnabas in the chat says Rook equals Sauron in disguise. That,
Rook is more.
That explains a great deal.
you know, we've already seen, we talked about earlier in this episode about, you know, an evil person being in disguise as someone else. You know, it's not
Dun,
going to
dun,
happen,
dun.
but it could, you know, you never know.
Well, I have a kinmate who swears that Jajax is going to come back and be the last remaining heir of Castamere.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we helped out the last remaining heir of
And
Castamere?
we helped wipe out his competition. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I really want to see that happen once I heard that suggested. That's just a really cool idea.
Nice.
And could you imagine like the mocking that he'd give at us? Ah, the lines of dialogue that are possible from that kind of a betrayal would be just amazing.
But he'd bring you beer, and it would be poisoned probably. But he'd bring you beer.
And then you could have like a crazy Jajax dream. Oh yeah, that like psychedelic
Native
Jajax dream.
Lions, take note.
Native Lions, like start working. Don't even take note. Just start working on this. Drop whatever you're doing right now and work
We'll, like,
on the
handle-
Jajax
write the whole
betrayal.
thing in 3 days.
Yeah, it turns out that Maid of Lions has actually written most of my favorite stuff in Lotro.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. All right. Any other thought on instances?
Do it.
Okay.
Meaning,
On
play them in
to
the game. And by the way, the new instances are playable down to level 50. I've
They
never
are,
done
yep.
lower level, but that's awesome, and you should totally do them if you're at level 50 or higher. Get a group together and try them out.
All right, so now we'll go on to our final section before final thoughts. And
Penultimate section.
yeah, the penultimate section. And we are going to be, of course, asking about level cap because we have not seen a level cap increase now after 2 updates. Yeah, 2 updates.
Mhm.
And so it's been,
It's been a
over.
while.
It's been 9 months since we've seen a level cap increase, maybe more. No, it's been over
It's
a
been
year.
longer. It's been over a
It's been
year
a
Yeah, it's been over a
ton.
year.
because it was update 14.
An
Yeah,
age
that's
then.
true. So yeah, it's been a very long time since we've seen a level cap increase. Do we feel like it was lacking with this update? Do we feel like it would have benefited from having a level cap increase? This is an open
Mm,
question.
no. I
All
mean,
right.
I think I'm sure a level cap at some point would be nice, or a level cap increase at some point in the future would be a good idea, because having just staying at 100, as much as it's such a nice round number, really kind of signifies a stagnation in the game, even
And
just to people looking into it, if
ex
nothing else. Um,
exactly, and that's actually my next question for everyone. Do you think that we will see another level cap increase? Should we see another level cap increase? And if not, what the heck are they going to do to help us feel like we're still progressing?
Well, I
that's
think their goal in this update was they introduced the imbued allies, and that's a new progression for people.
Hmm.
yeah,
But yeah, we definitely need another level cap increase at some point.
yeah. As
Not
much
not
as I
that
don't
I have
want
any
it to.
problem staying at 100 because, I have several characters who run around on a regular basis with XP disablers not to level up too fast. So it's not that big a deal for me to be capped.
My main thing is it limits playstyle for people who like to be over-leveled in MMOs. I know Trish, for example, she loves being
Hmm.
over-leveled, and she hates being at level cap or doing things on level. And I used to be that playstyle. I'm not so much anymore, but I still do kind of miss being able to be over-leveled for things. And I want to be able to do that. I think that that playstyle should be viable still in Lotro, and right
See,
now it's not.
it's
So.
weird because I always like being underleveled for stuff on my Guardian
Well, it
because
depends
it
on the
was,
class you choose. If you're
yeah, I'm
playing
sure.
a really weak class, you kind of might want to be way over leveled, especially if
Yeah,
you're new to MMOs.
yeah.
If you're
And
playing a champion or a guardian or one of the more, beefier
well,
classes, you want to be over or under leveled. I went through the entire end of Volume 1 5 levels under on my first character. That was an experience, but it was a lot of fun.
yeah.
And so I feel like that, they're taking away a play style essentially, and I feel like that they
Well,
need to add that back in, hopefully with the next update.
I can see them.
Not with the next
Well, the
update.
next new
Yeah, I don't think the
content update,
next
I mean.
update. I would say like maybe 2 updates from now, possibly. I don't like. I'm glad that there was no level cap increase with this update, if for no other reason than I just finished getting all my armor and stuff. But like, I'm glad that there was not one with this update because there, it didn't feel like there needed to be one. With the imbued legendary items, that's enough of a level cap upgrade as is. Like, you're so much more powerful with an imbued weapon than you were before without one for damage purposes. And with the extra, they added another trait point. The past few updates, they've added trait points, which is very similar to a level cap increase because you have more skills and traits and survivability available to you. So that's kind of another way that they're giving us um, progression. The danger with that is they're going to end up with everyone having everything, and
Well,
that's no fun.
and they could end up with everyone being required to imbue to be able to do the landscape content, which is something I never want to see.
Yeah,
I want that to
and
still be an
that's
option, and so
right. That's why I think in a couple, yeah, I think a couple updates from now they'll probably have to do a level cap increase, if for no other reason than PR.
yeah.
Like, yay, Lotra has a new level cap increase. Everyone come play our game with this new cool content. Because now it's just come play our game with this new cool content. I mean, it would be good for PR for them to have a level cap increase, I think, but I don't think it's needed now for this update, and I don't think it's needed for a little bit. It's nice to have things kind of settle down at 100 before they
I think it would be
throw things
very
off the.
fitting to have all the events at Minas Tirith be at a higher level. We've
Well,
been
that's
kind of
not going to
coasting through
happen.
Gondor. It'd be cool to have the final capstone for like the whole Gondor area to be higher level, I think.
Yeah,
It would be
it
cool.
would. Um, I was gonna say something and it disappeared. I read something in the chat and it like chased that thought right out of my head.
Poof.
Poof.
All right. Well, I do think that they need a level cap increase soon, but at the same time, when you were mentioning how it's, good PR to have them increase, um, if you look at what Guild Wars 2 is doing, they actually made it very clear that they're never going to have another level cap increase for that game.
Right. But the fact that LOTRO hasn't for this game means that that's not really like a thing. Like if LOTRO was to come out tomorrow and be like, we're never having another level cap increase, then that would be news and that would be PR and that would be, hey,
I
come
remember
play
what
our
it
game.
was.
But I mean,
It's
without that, you kind of need something.
I can see why not having a level cap increase at this point is a good idea, and then putting one in for Minas Tirith, because there's no fast way for people to get into the new content, because the Gift of the Valor only takes you to 50. That's halfway. You
Yeah.
still have to do the whole, and really, honestly, getting to 50 is the easy part. It's the stuff past 50 that's hard.
And that's very true, but they could also quickly fix that with just another one of those. Every time they raise the level cap, they raise the Gift of the Valar. Or make
We
a new
talked about this
item.
before. Yeah, like where to raise from 50 to 60 is 600 turbine points, from
Well,
60 to
even they
70
could
is
even
700,
just
etc.
adjust the price to where the new Gift of the Valar is 10 levels higher at the same price the old one was.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
That would
drop
be
the price
very
on the
easy to
old one
do.
and then make a new one. That would work.
And then
I
it would
really think
cost
they
less
should.
to get to level 50, and you would have the level 6 people who really want to get as high as they can, as quick as they can, be able to go to 60 and continue on from there.
I think it'd be cool if they did that. I think we talked about this several episodes ago
We did, but
about
I
having
think at the
something.
very least they need to have some way to get around Moria because I know so many people that
Yeah.
have just been stopped by Moria. I love Moria, but I know it is a big, big blocking point for a lot of people. They just can't handle being in that same type of area for that long, or being underground for that long, or whatever their beef against it is. And I totally get that. And so it's very weird that it ends at 50, but at the same time, that's also the end of the base game. So, it's just interesting how they kind of put it there.
Yeah, there's a lot that could be done, but also there's a lot that could just seriously, if they never did another level cap increase, I mean, it's feasible that there's not
Yeah.
something else and that they do
Well,
some, another
I
way of
know a
progressing.
lot of people that will just absolutely will not play until there's another level cap increase. And then
Yep.
they might go through the zones that they've been missing out on. Or they might just skip the zones that didn't have the level cap increase, especially now that we're not having expansions anymore. I know a lot of people that just skip the side zones, and so without a level cap increase, that type of a playstyle really doesn't have any reason to be playing the game.
Yeah.
And so I really hope they introduce it for no other reason than just to appeal to more playstyles.
It'd be interesting, like, they could even do something as simple as raising the virtues to level 25. And that would be a sizable increase in character strength. And, I mean, another way of progression. It'd be
That's
grindy and
a
people
reason
would
to go
hate it.
back and do those deeds.
They could,
Maybe.
but I feel
Yeah.
like a lot less people like deeding than they do leveling.
Yeah, for
So.
sure. But like
Sure.
they could do in the new areas have the deeds that you would need in the new areas and have
Right,
them
and
be
they kind
doable.
of have been doing that where
Yeah.
it's less and less of a requirement, but now they're kind of going back in the other direction, so I don't know.
The deeds
Um,
are less grindy in the new areas, so I've noticed
they
that.
are.
Like it seemed to be easier to accomplish while doing the content.
Yeah.
Well, everything from about Isengard on, because all of your stuff in Dunland counted for Dunland, and you had Dunland was this whole big area, and then they followed that through to the whole region and so there's bigger areas to quest in and more opportunity to kill the stuff that you have to kill for the deeds. Plus, the deed requirement didn't get any higher than it had been in previous areas, which ended with was just insane. For I think I
It
added it
was.
up. It was like over 500 wood trolls for one of the deeds.
Yep.
It's really
I think Angmar is
Yeah, they're
where it
like hard to
really got
find.
ridiculous.
yeah. Well,
Angmar
Angmar
was actually
has a
less than
ton of
Inidwith
content.
was.
Yeah.
Angmar has a ton of content. I mean, you basically end up completing most of those deeds just by doing the content. And I can say that because my Tuesday group hung out in Angmar for weeks on end, and we did all the stuff, and we've mostly completed the Angmar deeds, with the exception of the Rift, which we still have to go back and finish. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's just, I mean, there's in-instance deeds that are kind of a pain, but
yeah,
the landscape stuff, we really tore it up.
landscape stuff is really easy to do. I remember Trollshaw's deeding was painful. Trollshaw's deeding was extremely painful. Wolves and crawlers.
It
Mm.
can be if you don't know the right place to look, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew where the places were to look, and they were just not there.
They're still not that great even if you know the places to look,
Yeah.
but
Even if you know
Yeah.
the places to look, the numbers just aren't, because it's the second tier of the crawler deed is 300 freaking crawlers.
yeah.
That's on top of the 150 crawlers you had to kill the first round.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
150
the
insane amount.
numbers on the deeds are insane. But I mean, I think like the deeding in themselves is something that is one of those things where if you want to get your character better, you do them and you grind them out. So I mean, it'd be interesting if they had some more, like if they raised the cap a little bit, because I know plenty of people are running around with rank 23 virtues, and yeah, it caps at rank 19 for some reason. Like
I
it'd
think the
be
highest virtue I've managed is like 15.
Yeah, something like that for me too. But I mean, it'd be nice. Yeah, my highest is 15. But I mean, it'd be nice if they did raise that cap as another thing that people can do to improve their character moving forward.
It would be. I mean, and this gets back into the whole, well, you can increase it, but then you also have issues of the power level changing on different things, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's just like an endless cycle of things increasing and not,
And then
being
they have to go balance the
balanced.
mores. Yeah.
Well, not just the moors, but the landscape itself, and,
Yeah.
they have to balance everything all over again every time they change anything.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a thing. But I think that they definitely need to. It's time to increase things again, I think, with once Minas Tirith comes around.
Yeah. I could see that for sure.
Alright, so let's go on to final thoughts. So, first of all, were there any secret areas or things that surprised you about Eastern Gondor, Erithert?
Secret areas.
Or just things
I
that you were surprised by or thought were cool or things like that?
um I was surprised at how dang complicated Osgiliath is. Like, holy crap. City planning, people. City planning.
Well, it is
But
a city under siege and completely
yeah, but
obliterated, to
it
be
didn't
fair.
used to be. Like, even picture Osgiliath before it got all fluffed up. It was still pretty complicated. Like, it
Actually,
seems.
probably not really, because if you pay attention to the minimap and can keep track of where the heck those roads actually were that aren't
Yeah.
there anymore, actually it used to be that it wasn't all that hard to
It
navigate.
used to be a really nice city.
It used to be kind of a lot like it was a lot more open like Dol Amroth and Pelargir.
And the cool
And
thing
see,
is,
that's
though.
why the orcs can never win, because they don't know city planning. That
Yeah.
is
But
the...
here's the thing is when you look at Osgiliath and you're running around in it, what I really love about the city is how it has the feeling of like oldness.
Yeah,
It has the sense that it wasn't all built at the same time. Like
definitely.
I haven't spent enough time exploring and looking at the architecture because I've been kind of busy staying alive. But like it has the sense about it that certain parts of the city might be older and certain parts might be more new, which I think is really cool. Just, I mean, the depth that Tolkien has in his work, you feel it in Osgiliath. I don't know what it is, but you
I
get
think
that
it's
sense of
more
depth.
so, and I think part of it is the two gates. It's the gateway between the two sister cities that are the biggest cities in all of Middle Earth at this time. And so it is the gateway from night to dark light, basically. And it's very, very fitting how it's, the moon and the sun and just
Yeah.
this balance. And there's so much history that you can just tangibly feel in the city. And it's just a really cool thing. I definitely agree. It's definitely a
Yeah,
highlight.
so I'd have to say probably Osgiliath is my most pleasantly surprised area of the update. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I liked the whole area south of Ilion. It was really pretty. Like I think south of Ilion is probably my favorite. Losternac was yay flowers, but it was like I was almost getting allergies just looking at the screen. But Ithilien just seemed super like this could be so beautiful if it wasn't for darn Sauron. Like
Yeah.
that sense about it. I
And I think
really
that's
like
something
South
I
of
didn't really realize from the book was just how amazingly beautiful Gondor actually is, because he doesn't spend that much time giving that much description up front in the middle of the story. It's just kind of like these one-off references that eventually get put together. And especially in the appendices as well, there's a lot of description. And so I
But
didn't
he does
realize
describe Athelion.
He does,
he
yeah.
does, but I didn't really realize just how, like, Sauron's basically ruining one of the most, if not the most beautiful place in Middle Earth.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
it's just amazing that that's going on, and you don't really think about it until you actually visually see it in Lotro. And so I thought that that was definitely a cool thing. Terry.
Um, I wasn't really surprised necessarily by anything. Um, but Imlath Mellowy, the little tour that you do to try and find cheer
Hmm.
up Denethor's sister, um, was a really interesting side quest. By
Yeah.
the way, more spoilers. Denethor's sisters, guys. The first one is awfully bossy. The second one definitely related to Denethor.
They're both
Definitely,
definitely
yes.
related to
That
Definitely
Denethor.
related to
definitely
Denethor.
related to
I mean,
Dennis.
the first one when I ran across her, I was like, okay, well, she's really bossy, which sort of fits the area that she's in and the position because she's really kind of she's married to the lord of the town who's gone off to war, and she doesn't really have any power because the command
Yeah.
is given over to the captain of the guard but she's trying to exercise what power she thinks she has. And if you followed that, kudos to you. um, but the second sister is definitely more closely related to Denethor because she's loopy.
She's definitely loopy.
Yeah, they're both nuts.
Yeah.
One thing that kind of surprised me at first that I didn't expect, this was back in beta, the glowing red eyes of the orcs. We haven't talked about that yet. Everything that's coming out of Minas Morgul has glowing red eyes that are the creepiest thing ever, and we've kind of touched on this in previous episodes, but it's just a very small detail that's changed on the units that totally changes the feel of the enemies because they feel just like this extreme evil that you're fighting, and it's a really cool thing.
I didn't notice. I just kill him. I'm not like, look into my
Really,
eyes.
it's even more
Don't
obvious because of the Dauntless Day. I
decapitate
mean, they're
me.
like blood red, like bright. I'm surprised you didn't notice.
I'm red-green colorblind. I
That's
didn't
true. I
notice.
forgot about that. That's true.
One of the things that I noticed, though, is that when we were inside of Osgiliath, one of the I was running into some Urukai in there, which means that Sauron managed to get hold of the dregs from Saruman's army.
Oh,
I didn't
interesting.
even realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's true.
Finally found a secret. I think that that might be the first secret that we've actually found in all of the update talks ever done. So, so that's a plus. All right. So the next question is, what is your least favorite part about update 16 as a whole? And let's start with Pineleaf.
Least favorite part of update 16 as a whole. I really can't think of anything. I presume the original version of the music updates, I think they fixed most of that in 16.1,
They
so
did, and we're reviewing 16.1 even though I didn't specify that because we're reviewing, what's been done now.
Oh, we gotta
Right.
start all over then.
That's okay.
Well, if you guys are thinking, I have something about
yeah,
16.1
I
Yeah,
was
that
go ahead,
thinking,
Carve.
yeah.
well, Pine Leaf is ready to go now. I can talk.
Pineleaf interrupted the other guy, so you go ahead, Carve. This is payback for
Well,
Athelros.
my biggest problem with 16.1 is that everything that's really cool is at level 100, and I'm not there yet. So I'm just like nodding, going, "Yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds really cool. That
You've been
that
super duper quiet.
yeah."
Yeah, that's why, because Carve's not at cap, for everyone wondering why we just totally excluded Carve for the whole episode.
Oh,
it,
Carvet is at
It's not.
79 in Rohan. He's working on it, but
It's not
yeah.
because he actually got kicked off the show.
right, he is still on the show. It's not. Pineleaf, have you come up with anything yet?
Nope, I think I'll pass.
All right, Terry?
Probably my least favorite part would have to be imbuement, just because,
Mm.
I'm
Did it just
very
not live
meh.
up to what you wanted, or?
I'm very meh about legendary weapons anyway, because again, I play champion, and I've always felt that champions got a little not any love at all with legendary weapons. And it every time I read updates for champion allies, it's like, oh look, that's for a trait that I don't have because I'm not running blue. Oh look, that's for a trait I don't have because I'm not in yellow. Where's my stuff for the red line champion, guys? So, so yeah, that's my downside to the LI imbuement system.
All right, Aerithert?
Um, d- Least favorite part, hands down, creeping.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, when they were in beta testing in Bull Roar, they were like, "Give us numbers. Tell us how if it's imbalanced and how and why." And everyone was like, "It's imbalanced," but they were like, "Give us numbers." And I went out there on my warg, and there were 4 or 5 people running around with the inspiration exploit, just killing things that showed up, and everyone is rank 15, and you can't test when everyone is rank 15 and everyone's got
Yeah.
the maxed LI. It's just it was I left. And so there was not even a shred of attempt to even buff creeps, give creeps the outnumbered buff for the length of the update until they got something real, or just like a 10% boost in healing and damage and health. That would have carried things over so they're a little more balanced. That would have been nice. But I mean, the fact that there was nothing whatsoever because they didn't get any numbers was pretty disappointing to me.
Yeah, that
That was
seems
my
kind of
least
like the
favorite.
age-old story though, and that doesn't make it any more acceptable for this update, but
Yeah.
that's like the thing that always happens, and it's really sad. Hopefully with the new map, they'll actually have more focus and maybe also change their monetary system to what we talked about earlier on another episode. But yeah, it would be very nice if they could actually keep things balanced, at least
Even
closer than what they're doing.
even simple things like something's been broken on Creepside for years, as far as I know, it is attack damage. Like all
Yep.
the attack damage debuffs, they're broken. They increase attack damage. Something like that would have been nice to have fixed in update 16 or even 16.1. The only thing we've gotten is apparently the one shot bug has finally been fixed in 16.1. That's it, and that's not really.
It's
I
like,
mean,
oh
yay!
yay.
That's good. Thanks, appreciate that. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually very happy about that because it was super annoying. Um, but like I mean, eh, it seems like a lot more could have been done. But I'm definitely glad that they're paying attention to it now, and that things are in testing. It just would have been nice to see a little, a cookie toss in update 16 to keep people, because I know a lot of people that have virtually left from this update.
Yeah,
For
I'm
Creepside? Yeah,
I'm sure
me.
plenty of people will be back for the new map,
I
but
hope so. I hope so. I hope it brings him back.
all right. So the next thing is, what is your favorite part about Update 16 as a whole. And let's start with Terry.
Ooh, I have lots of favorites. My
Okay.
my very favorite part is the story, because both epic story and side quests are top notch. I have pretty much zero problems with where the story is going. Loving all the side quests. Really enjoyed pretty much everything I've done so far in Update 16, and so many nice little quality of life fixes, like the alt right click for consume all rep clickies at once is the best thing ever.
Now
Yeah,
that
a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
a
I
lot of the
like that a
update
lot.
16
Which was
stuff.
something we didn't talk about, but it was 16.1 came out just this week, and it was like, oh my god, amazing! How many
Yeah.
of us played for a couple of days before we realized that that feature was in game?
I saw it in the patch notes and I got super excited. I was like, yes!
I
I'm
saw it in the patch
everything.
notes and still played for 2 days before I remembered that it was actually in the game.
Yeah, considering I have 3 characters in Moria right now, I'm just doing stacks and stacks and stacks of reppies, and I'm like, oh wait, I can alt click everything.
Yeah, it's
They almost
I
need like
can't
a new tooltip reminder for that to let you
yeah.
know that you can do it.
I hope they can roll that out for LI pills too, because that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
All right. Carve, what was your favorite part about Update 16?
Well, I mean, being able to watch YouTube videos and listen to commentary, I think that I'm gonna really have a good time sneaking around Osgiliath and checking out the new terrain and going to these places that I've heard about and I've never been to. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll get to it before it becomes like the has been content, and I'll have to rush to get up to whatever the next new thing is. But I mean, just the idea of being able to go to these iconic places that I have read about and dreamed about but never been to, well, I'll get there eventually. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Pineleaf?
Story.
All right.
Well, Terry already said just
Yeah,
about it
she
all.
did. Erithert?
Um, Favorite part, quests, the story, and the landscape. I'd say both of those.
Yeah. My favorite part is definitely the story, especially hearing about some of the spoilery things that Pineleaf mentioned that I haven't gotten to yet. Sounds really
Yeah, I was
amazing.
surprised you wanted me to say all that stuff here.
And so I'm really looking forward to that stuff, and hopefully I'll forget about it by the time I get to actually recording those episodes. But yeah, I'm super excited to get through the content now, and the story sounds even better than it has been, and so that's great. Volume 4 seems to be looking really good. Um, all right, so that now brings us to our scores. And for those that don't know, we do have an alphabetical school type score for those that are in America anyway. Of course, F minus being the worst update Lotro's ever
Is
had,
F
and
minus a thing?
F minus
Yes.
It
is a
is on
thing,
our scoring system.
Okay.
and A plus being the best update Lotro has ever had. So, with that in mind, Erithert, what is your score? And remember to include why you're giving your score.
The poor K's. B plus, because the upsides, the really good landscape and really good quests. Imbuement was meh, like pretty good, but a lot of downsides to it. And the main downside was that there's the mores are terribly, terribly imbalanced.
All right. Carve, if you want to read what you put in the show notes.
Yes, sounds good to me.
All right.
Um,
And-
yeah, I mean, right now I'm leaning towards an A. Maybe an
Medium
A
plus.
minus. Yeah, it's like a unknown sounds good based on well what everybody else said, kind of a thing. So yeah,
Awesome. All right, and Lillicate did leave a message because she's actually gone through at least some of the new area. She says A because landscape, music, Oliphants, which she loves the Oliphants. I don't know if you followed her on Twitter or
She
read her
seriously
articles,
does.
but she's obsessed with them, and like that's the her best new thing in Lotro. Um, Sheer Lotro joy, she says right after Oliphants. So yes, there you go. She says no A plus because some of the quests are a little buggy. Although she doesn't give any reason, but I'm sure that she had plenty of good reasons for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of buggy quests, update
Yeah.
16.1 fixed the one that I found that was broken.
Well, that's good.
That's
I,
it's actually one of the things I
the one
saw in the
where
patch
you
notes. I was
follow
like,
the
oh hey, I broke that one.
Yeah, I broke it also. But
I will for update 16.1, might have to bump it up to an A minus just for all the quality of life fixes, the nice little things.
Yeah. All right, and Pine Leaf.
I'm giving it an A.
All right. Do you want to expound
And,
upon that?
well, first of all, I can't think much of anything that I saw wrong with it. I liked just about everything I saw. Great landscape, all offensive course, great storyline,
All right.
and the only thing I can think of that's really a problem is a certain problems with Creepside, but I play so little in the moors, it's not something that's enough for me to downgrade it fr down into the B range.
All
So
right.
I'll give it an A.
Awesome. Terry.
I gave it an A minus because of all the things that Aerother said, except for it wasn't worth going with B plus. A minus is a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, the imbalance in the Moors is what brought that score down because I actually do play a Warg on occasion.
All
I
right.
haven't since the new update.
Mm. Well, I'm going to give it an A, and it's because so far what I've seen has been fantastic. I'm really loving the story so far. And the landscape seems to be an improvement. They got the dawnless day to look cooler, which was a
Mm-hmm.
big complaint I had with the previous area, so I'm glad that they changed it, especially now that we're getting closer to Mordor. It should be looking more red and having, extra details in it.
Lightning.
And so really cool that they're adding in lightning, like Arthur just said. And it's just really cool. They've done a lot of great quality of life things, as everyone has said. While yes, they did go a little bit of a backstep in PvP, they are bringing the next update to be the PvP update of like all PvP updates ever for LOTRO.
Yeah.
So it should be rectified with the next update, hopefully. And so that's why that doesn't really pull my score down, because I feel like that they're going to give PvP the love it needs and more than it's gotten in a long
Yeah.
time in the near
I hope
future.
so.
So especially with the announcement that we read earlier today at the start of the show, where they actually are already in alpha testing for that. So that's exciting.
Yep.
Um, Other than that, I think just in general it deserves an A. It seems like one of the better updates for Lotro. So that does end our review, Pineleaf. We will have a poll up tomorrow, actually. So by the time this podcast's out, it'll be up for everybody about what people want to score the update themselves. So feel free to put that in the poll, and we'll find out next week what all of you think. But anyway, that's the end of the review.
Thank you, Anding. We currently have 11 supporters on Patreon. If you would like to join this illustrious fellowship of players and help
That's a
support
raid.
Locho players, simply go to the donation page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even a guest spot on an episode of Locho Players News. And how far are we from the next goal?
Well, Pineleaf, we are still the same distance as we were before, just about $10 away from a Guild Wars 2 Heroic Edition giveaway, or Digital Deluxe Edition giveaway, which is even better. And so that's exciting. We're getting close to that, and there's an expansion coming up for Guild Wars, so it'd be cool for a new player to win that copy of the game to get into the game.
Very well. We have two featured comments this week. And Terry, could you please read Baron Thalian's comment?
Sure. Baron Thalion left a comment on the 100th show. I had forgotten how epic Pineleaf is at rating poems and how awesome the poems submitted are. Did Pineleaf major in drama? Can't you just imagine him reciting the orc poem in a class at school whilst wearing a beret and warden's shield? I can totally picture that.
I can picture that. I
I
can
can
definitely
picture
picture
that for
that.
sure.
Or, at the very least, at the next Myth Moot. I can totally see Pine Leaf doing that.
All right, Carfet, could you please read the next one?
Sure, I'll be glad to. All right.
Wow, that's preparation.
Yes. All right.
You have to clear your throat too. Go ahead.
We're talking about Bruthvo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I request that we now start calling Pine Leaf Poem Leaf.
Second and third.
Yeah.
Well, we did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you could send it to podcast@lotroplayers.com. You could also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @Players Ally, Lotro Players @Lotro Players, Andang @PVMP_Andang, Arathert @Arathert, Carvet @Carvet LP, Lily Kate @Lily Kate Buggins, Maven @Tolkien Maven, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. The Players Alliance has 3 live shows every single week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Guild Wars Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows every week at lotroplayers.com/live. Thank you everyone for listening. This is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.